What's up, you guys? I'm going to do a video that was requested again about people saying how they need more chest options and chest exercises to do with a Total Gym or a Weider Ultimate Body Works. So you guys know that I'm a huge fan of this machine, and so hopefully if you guys have a machine, this will add more exercises to the repertoire here. There's some new ones here that are actually new for me that I tried that I think I will start incorporating, because for me, as you guys know on this channel, I like stuff that's very simple. I don't like to change it too much if it's not broken. And I will start incorporating some of these ones that I've just kind of added in here that you guys will see in a second. But really, I like the tried and true traditional press, which I will review in here, because someone asked me before about how they really weren't feeling it as much in their chest and the basic one. So I'll review some important highlights with that as well. Granted, I do have a pair of dumbbells that adjustable dumbbell power blocks that I will use sometimes. But for the past, I would say at least 2 months, month, I've been using this device exclusively, especially with my chest. It's just been the basic stuff. And so I'm going to show you guys plenty of, in my opinion, I think it's really all the exercises you need. There's more I could show you, but you're going to see about 7+, I think, exercises in this video that I think you guys can utilize and use. So it's always helpful if you got anything from this video to like and subscribe, share this information with anyone you know who might benefit from, who either doesn't have one of these things or has one that doesn't know how the exercise to do with it. In the future, I'll put some workouts in there too that will start incorporating this and kind of mixing up together. You can see how I'm going to incorporate this as well. But all the links for everything will be down below. Hopefully this stuff will be informative to you guys. And here's the exercises. All right, so the very first thing I'm going to show you guys is just a basic chest press. I know it might seem overkill to just review this, but just really quickly want to go over a couple things. It's kind of common sense, right? You don't want to necessarily sit too low on the machine because you'll kind of bottom out. You could sit this low and do some of this kind of like mini press here from the inside, which isn't necessarily a really bad thing, but basically you want to sit a little bit higher up in the sled. And this depends on the different model that you have of really a Total Gym versus if you're going to use this Ultimate Body Works by Weider. So big thing too is to make sure in all these presses, really, I'm never really going to use this grip where the strap is coming over my forearms. That just is kind of awkward. It's cumbersome. It doesn't feel as good. Granted, you could do it. I just wouldn't. I mean, I don't know. Everyone may build a little differently. They might maybe think that's more comfortable, but I would say flip it around this way, whether you're doing a close press or if we start going into what we're going to be doing. But from this position where I have nice and far back on the sled, I have enough range of motion where I can get a nice low range of motion and press right through. So to answer someone's question, if you're not really feeling this in the chest, to me, I mean, a lot of it can be, this is with anything. If you're first starting out, you might be using a lot of shoulders, maybe some triceps to kind of help out. You really have to focus on the muscle being stretched at the bottom of that position. All right, so just right here, this bottom position, I feel a nice stretch here, and that's the same muscle group that I'm gonna focus on and squeeze on the way up. Versus if I just start doing this, you can see I'm doing it the same thing, but I'm more so using my arms than I am my chest. So focus on where that stretch is coming from the bottom position and work on that is what's doing the main action. Okay, so you get enough great range of motion just sitting like that. Okay, and then again, if you're still in this basic position, other than the basic chest press, which is still somewhat, you could argue, an incline press. You could go at more of an incline, and I'll get to some straight presses in a second, but I even sometimes, instead of just going straight this way, I will kind of go up a little bit. So mess with these angles. That's a little bit shoulders too, but even so, I still feel more upper chest. So mess with these angles. I mean, there's nothing wrong with going on the inside. Definitely, you're going to be working, if you're doing an inside press, a little bit more, some shoulders, some more triceps, I should say. But if you focus on your chest doing the action, it's still something I think you'll feel in your chest, definitely. Sorry. I'm going to show you guys another way you can make this a little more versatile, just staying wherever you are. Okay, so one is simply just going single arm. Now, what a single arm does at this position, if you're just on your knees, I can just get more of a reach back and get more of a chest stretch here, and I can press up this way. All right, this is just a different angle. So the way I can kind of switch this up is basically kind of go on my knees. All right. So I'm up here and I'm pressing that way. I could reach back and press up and press that way. Okay. All right, now with the chest fly, I honestly am not a huge fan of doing chest flies just in general with free weights or whatever. I mean, it used to be, but For whatever reason, I just like pressing. I think I get more out of doing chest exercises, doing it that way. But the reason I'm not a huge fan of doing the chest flies on here, at the higher inclines, you kind of really have to really shorten that range of motion, because when you start getting this far back at that incline, it's just pretty hard to kind of dig out of that bottom. And I think when you're digging out of that bottom, it's just more stress that I think is necessary on the shoulders. And I really just don't like that line of action. When I say line of action, it's just where's the tension kind of coming from this cable. And the cable's kind of coming down, you know, it's always coming essentially coming down when doing these chest exercises. And basically it's coming down at an angle and it's really close together. So you feel like you're always kind of like digging out of this little hole basically each time. So that's not the best analogy. But basically, if I'm gonna do chest flies, if I was gonna do chest flies, I would put this thing in a low setting. I would scoot back a little bit. And this is a nice one because I can get a nice, essentially fluid range of motion as I do this exercise. And I like coming a little further back. You definitely can stop short if you want to. You can see it's already kind of bottoming out. But that's how I would do chest flies if you chose to do them. I think there's a lot of other exercises you can do. Well, I take that back. There's one other thing you can do. You can also just do chest flies basically just kneeling. I mean, you can do it sitting like this from that position I told you, you know, at this staggered stance. You could do it sideways. If I was gonna do it sideways though, I'd probably reach for this one, just because I feel like this tension now is pulling me more this way, versus if I go that line of action, I lose some of that tension in my chest. So this is an option if you want to do chest flies. Just do it single arm. Actually, in fact, I think this probably, in my opinion, feels the best out of all of them. Although I will show another variation coming up here in a second. All right, so this is going to be a way to kind of add some more tension. You could add an external weight, whether it's a plate. You could have someone sit on this thing, and now we can start using different angles of the machine. And this is where your own kind of creativity comes in, because you could really mix these angles up from all different areas. I'm gonna face this way now. I'll go behind the machine later. I can go stand from the side. All of them have a slightly different tension. So instead of having this video go on forever, I'm gonna give you guys some ideas. You can play around with them. You definitely don't have to use this weight, in my opinion. You can get creative with something heavy you want to put on here. You could attach straps. If you're using the Weider Ultimate Body Works, it has the bungee cables. You can put those on there. They work pretty good. But basically, if you're wondering how you can work your chest, as I just alluded to, it's always kind of this action. It's always kind of a slight incline, which is still fine in my opinion. You can now get more of an even chest press. Depending on where this is set up, your own height, you can now press from down here. So now, again, I'm using one hand right now because if I use two, it'll double out. But I'm just starting off with some tension, not letting it bottom out. I start off with some tension. I can do a straight kneel. If I want to be lazy, I can sit here and do a decline, which I'll get to. But I'm just going to kneel up. I like to do the opposite leg to whatever hand I'm pressing with. I get a nice straight posture. I reach back a little bit. My arms kind of cocked in nice and even. And I press right through my chest line just like that. And with this weight, I mean, it's 80 pounds. This is 90 pounds. It's not like I'm really pressing 90 pounds the way the force is distributed. But my point being is that it's going to depend on a number of the reps are going to depend on the weight and the tension and also the angle you're at. So you can play with that. You don't have, just because you don't feel like discouraged, you don't have a heavy weight or a dumbbell, or the power blocks are flat, a regular dumbbell might roll off, I get that. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. Like I said, borrow somebody to sit on this thing for a second. Even if you can't, worst case scenario, even with the bungees on there, it's okay. Or just buy some bands and attach them on. There'll be a future video talking about how to attach bands to this, so kind of stay tuned for that. So let's see another exercise. Actually, before I do that, let's show you one more. Again, another fly, just to kind of, again, think of the creativity you guys can do. If you like doing flies, and I showed you how it's a lot of inclines, same thing applies to this. You could do a decline or even flat fly, depending on how you're doing. I'll do like a decline fly equivalent with one arm back. Actually, this one I'm probably gonna kneel this way, but I'm just gonna reach back, and you can see the tensions there. And I'm basically mimicking a decline bench fly. All right, this one you guys probably saw coming. I'm turning this thing around. And another great one right here is just using the backside of the machine. Basically, I can do a straight press, pressing both hands straight on. This feels really, really good. If you can't load it with 1 to 2 arms, or you can't put much weight on there, you can do a single arm. I can go here. I can totally raise this and do a standing version of this as well. But even this one, I mentioned how the flies don't feel as good, those angles. This to me is honestly the best feeling fly, at least for me, doing it just like this. I think this, the way the tension is kind of distributed throughout your chest, is probably the best way to do it. I don't have the bungees on now, but I think with the bungees, it would still feel pretty good as far as the repetitions that you could do. Also, from this angle right here, from this side of the machine, right now I can actually do a decline press. I'm gonna flip it over again, but I could do a decline press just down here. Okay, again, double arm, single arm. I could do double flies, single arm flies. Okay, then just if you're curious, this is the full height it's at. I'm 6 foot, and I can, this is me standing doing this press. All right, so another way of just getting different angles is just kind of putting this thing at full volume here and standing up and doing these presses. Okay, another one is just going to be a kind of a pike push-up. You can just simply do push-ups on this. I do this a lot. It's another little variation. You can just use your hands. I don't know how, honest I could do. These are hit or miss with me, these perfect push-ups. Don't ask me why this thing's blue. That's a whole nother story. You put both of these down, right? I want this thing essentially kind of low so it glides really easily. Want my chest kind of directly over the actual handles, right in the splitting down the center of them. And from this position, I start with a little bit of tension. I'm gonna pike up. You can jackknife. Here's also another variation you can do. Just put this thing in. All right, if you don't have a pair of those, this works pretty good too. Again, I want my chest to go over the split of this. Something else that's kind of unique that you can do, that I like to do actually on my chest days, you can do this on shoulders as well, is, I don't know what I call it. It's kind of like, it's like a little bit of chest shoulder press type of thing. It just works a little different of an angle, but it's unique to this machine and the way this sled is gliding as you're pushing. But basically what this is I'm gonna start over, maybe just kneeling like this, a little bit of slack. And I should say that, I'm gonna start kneeling just like this, and I'm gonna go down just like this, and I'm literally gonna press. I'm gonna start pressing from here, and then it kind of goes out. So it's literally like I'm making this motion. So it looks like it's not the same thing as a shoulder press, because when I'm over it, I'm literally starting here to make that press, and then again I'm finishing up kind of like that. So it's just a little bit unique. It's just something else. It definitely is working your chest, there's no question about it. It's definitely working your shoulders too. It's just a little bit of both, but I like doing it and kind of mixing it up into both workouts. All right guys, that was it. Hopefully that was informative. Believe it or not, there's a few other ones I could show you. I'm only not, just because I don't want this video to go too long. But I think those are really the best ones. If I was going to do chest and I want a variety of things to do and kind of work different angles that just kind of stay true to the pressing, like I said, I'm more biased to just pressing. In my opinion, I mean, you're pressing different angles. That's all you really have to do. If you want to mix things up a bit, mix up the tension. Think, like I said, really stress the opening and kind of stretching of your chest, and feeling those same muscles that are stretched are the same muscles that you want to drive through. If you're a beginner, you might not feel that initially. That's just because the muscle is not really there yet. The motor program is a little bit different. You're gonna be more programmed to do the easiest path of least resistance, meaning your shoulders and triceps to help out. So don't feel like if you're not feeling these things right away, give it time. I mean, you will eventually. If you're lucky, you'll feel it right away. But you gotta constantly just kind of switch things up subtly. But at the end of the day, if you wanna work your chest, it's a horizontal push in slightly different directions. Vary the speed up, vary the exercises, the reps, sets, that's up to you. Vary the load. You can get really, really creative if you've got a training partner or someone that can help you with, I didn't talk about this yet, but doing negatives with this, doing a press and then having someone pull you down, like do a concentric press, have someone then pull you down slightly, do another press. That's huge. Getting strategic with the use of bands and different attachments that you can do with this. Those videos will be coming in the near future, so look forward to those. If this was all helpful, like I said before, please help me out by just giving it a like. If you haven't seen this video before, you want more of these, just subscribe it. As always, I always ask you guys to just send me the feedback, what you guys want to see, what you like, don't like, and I'll do my best to answer you guys' questions. So all the links for all the stuff that I'm using is going to be linked down below. Any questions or comments, just definitely don't hesitate to ask. Thank you.